Okay, so I don't know whether to title this as venting out frustrations or just a general overview on this topic, but, well, you'll probably know by the time this video's out because I'll have the decision made. But anyway, I was looking around through Walmart earlier today, getting my sister some cookie dough, and I went and saw some CDs in a $5 bin, and, I got one, and then while I was listening to it, I was thinking about all the different things with formats for things, such as cassettes. Now, does anyone even remember what a cassette was? I mean, I don't have one to show you, and the one that looks like one is one of those things that you plug into a car and plug in an iPod, which I don't have, my family just left. But anyway, cassettes were like mini VHS tapes, which is another thing that people seem to have forgotten, but that's an interesting thing to me, is just the whole big advances in format and all that, and the pros and cons that come with it. For me, a cassette is very durable, as long as you can take care of it pretty well, and, you can probably store them and they can stay good as long as you keep a cassette player, but admittedly, they are kind of inconvenient, and admittedly, even now, I'd say they feel really outdated no matter what. And then for music, I'd say it's great that we do have things like CDs. To me, this is my preferred method for music, but anyway, one great thing about CDs is, well, just they can hold a lot of stuff. And there's a lot more that I'm not too well aware of, but admittedly, the downside for that is they can break rather easily. And nowadays, we have just things on iTunes. Now, I don't really use iTunes. I don't care much for a lot of digital stuff, mostly just because I guess I'm just too lazy to upgrade, but that I'll get into that topic a little bit later. But I also want to talk, just for the fun of it, about, movies now. Speaking of VHSs, remember these suckers? Remember plugging this thing into this big box into an even bigger box to watch your movies? Now, I'm old school on this type of style in this, but I just love VHSs. Admittedly, if you were to I'm one of those people that can't really tell improvements in quality unless, I'm showing them side to side, and even then, if I watch them individually, I'd barely notice. But, we go from VHSs to things like DVDs, which, again, they do. I think DVDs did have a bigger advantage to, adding more content. Now, that's, to me, why the advancement to CDs is a very good advancement. It just adds a lot more. But again, and then I'll get back to the stuff with the video streaming, like Steam and all that. And as for things like Blu-rays, to me that just came out at a really poor time. I mean, it had good potential to show a lot of behind-the-scenes footage, but, it was just never utilized. I mean, most people went, look at this high-definition stuff, and I don't care that much about it. And then we also go for video games from cartridges to CDs. That is another good one. Now, this is one where I prefer good old cartridges, mostly for durability. Because, CDs, the advantage to CDs over the older form is it's always a step up. And that's to me the interesting thing about these three eras. For each one of these things, for music, movies, video games, is that you have kind of the three era: the brick era, the plastic brick era, the CD era, and now we have the digital era. Now, for some people will just go, well, the digital stuff's very cheap, and I prefer that method. And on one hand, I can see where they're coming from, and in many respects, it does help. But admittedly, for things like CDs and all that, I actually kind of love just being in the position I am now, especially with old VHS tapes, just because they're so cheap to get. It's quite fun. In fact, I actually found this album for just $5 today, and it's awesome. But that's kind of the fun thing about the formats is, for me, my thoughts on outdated formats is, if you still have a way to use them, they're, to me, the best thing you can have if you can use them, because, well, nobody cares about it and they'll sell it pretty cheap. So anyways, this has been kind of a ramble bit, but what are your thoughts on these formats and any other ones? Which ones do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below.